What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Austin from the Bare Maximum Project. So excited you guys checked us out again today. Thank you for tuning in. Go ahead and hit that like button and go ahead and hit that subscribe bell when you get a second. Before we go ahead and continue, I'll wait. All right, now that we got that out the way, we're talking about today how we can best communicate ugly truths in our relationships. Let's get started.
Real talk, I think that a lot of us are so unhappy because we refuse or can't acknowledge ugly truths that we have on the inside. It's so easy to get caught up in trying to do or say the right thing, all while not being true to what you really feel and what's honest for you.
In all honesty, the more that we acknowledge these ugly truths per se, the better that we feel about how to progress through them. Part of the reason that I think we do this is because it's somewhat of a cultural expectation to suck it up, to just deal with it and just tolerate things as they are, regardless of how you feel about it. To a certain degree, yes, that is true. You do have to suck it up and persevere through things, but if it's something that you feel like is denying you the right that you have to live the best life that you're capable of living, then that's where it becomes a problem, and that thinking becomes toxic because you're trapping yourself in a mindset that doesn't allow you to be free and be the best that you can be. So when you're talking about confronting ugly truths in your relationship, it needs to be handled with extreme caution care, because the things that you share could be devastating in a way, but it's up to you to gauge whether or not you, the person that you're with, and your relationship as a whole is strong enough to handle the knowledge that you're about to drop. Because if you're saying something that you can't come back from, you got to be prepared to deal with the fallout of what might happen. For example, my wife and I, we don't fight often, but when we do, it makes up for the times where we don't. And a lot of times during these big fights, you find out some things that you knew were always there, bubbling beneath the surface, but it finally comes to a head and just kind of erodes. And in the moment you're kind of like, oh, it's like that.
Like that, boom. It's like that.
But the healing that you feel afterward, when all the dust is settled, is great, because you know what that person is expecting of you, and you've also, like, from your perspective, you've gotten out what you need to say, and you can finally begin to deal with that. So, like, an example of an ugly truth in a relationship would be, like, ladies, let's say, your man, or you feel like your man isn't holding you down. He's not pulling his weight as far as what you think a man should do.
Love is a guy that thinks he's fine, is also known as a buster,
or should be, or how he should behave. Then voice those concerns, but make sure that, like I said earlier, you know who you're with, you know the person that you're with. If they're gonna fly off the handle, then you got to find a different way to say it. And you also have to know yourself and just make sure that you communicate in the right way. Because for one, we men, we hate to mind read. We can't stand whenever we know something's wrong with you, but you insist on saying, nothing, I'm all right, when you're giving attitude over something stupid, because we know. And if you feel like he's not being everything that you want him to be, like, all right, you're entitled to feel what you want to feel, but you have to say what it is you need from him, even if it might be a little bit hurtful, because how can we grow and how can we be what you need for us to be if you're not telling us what you need? But let me also remind you that if you said this and he's taking active steps to trying to be those things, don't constantly remind him of what he's not right now.
Come on, keep up. Try.
Fellas, if I gotta be careful with how I say this, but if you feel like your lady's kind of letting herself go a little bit, as far as like in the physical dimension, as shallow as you might think that it sounds, if you don't find a way to delicately say what it is that you're feeling, then you're going to start harboring these feelings, and then it leads to some dangerous situations. And you catch my drift. It doesn't even necessarily have to be that specific example. It could be another hot button issue like sex, which is a big problem depending on how it's going in your relationship. It could either be spectacular or it could absolutely suck.
Shut up!
But if you're feeling some kind of way about your sex life, then say something. She might throw a fit. She might give a million and one excuses. Like, I get you. We all been there. Like, men, we all been there where you feel like she ain't putting out. And but you have to communicate that ugly truth. It's like, baby, look, I'm not feeling how we're going right now in the bedroom, and we got to change some stuff. I think probably the biggest mistake that I made early on in my marriage was the fact that I waited until I got super pissed before I brought out the ugly truth, and before I voiced my ugly truths, the things that were like you didn't really want to say. And because I took this approach, whether it was subconscious and I didn't want to make any, ruffle any feathers, because I went this route, it ended up causing more damage than I intended it to, because I waited. I didn't say something whenever I started feeling these things. And when you're carrying around these ugly truths, like I say, it comes out in other ways. Like, you might notice that you're a little bit shorter than usual. You start to criticize a little bit more, and the list kind of goes on and on in that area. So that's like another key point in dealing with ugly truths and communicating them is making sure that you're not already pissed off before you say something. You have to communicate before you get mad. Now, for me, like I can be very short patiented, and I can have a real short fuse.
King Kong ain't got shit on me!
But before you get to that point of no return, before you just like lose it, this is for both parties. Before you just lose it, you have to find a way to say what you're feeling without damaging the other person. Yeah, like there's some things that you can only say in a way that's very blunt and straightforward to get your point across, so that way change happens. But you want to try to communicate ugly truths without destroying your partner, and just check your heart before something comes out of your mouth. Now, I'd be lying through my teeth if I didn't say the temptation is going to be there for you to go tit for tat and want to just land that death blow to the other person where it's like, yeah, got your ass. But don't do that. That's not doing anybody any favors, because you're going to look stupid and the other person's going to not trust you with their heart anymore, because you're looking to hurt them instead of looking to heal the relationship and move it forward. Again, I'm going to use myself as an example. Another mistake that I've made, sometimes repeatedly, but the temptation is there to just not let the other person win per se, even though you shouldn't be looking to win. You should be looking to solve the issue at hand. But you really want to fight that temptation to try to one up the other person whenever you're having these hard conversations, because when you're letting these truths out, you're essentially trusting this other person to receive the information in a mature way. And when you, as the receiver, you don't take it in a mature way and you try to blast the other person back with something hurtful, then your relationship is not going to be built on trust. It's going to be built on war. And that's exhausting to be fighting about the same thing over and over. You know what I'm saying? So making that mistake taught me that I'm not in this relationship to try to win, but I'm here to grow. And, love comes and goes. You go through seasons where you can't stand that person. But at the end of the day, like, you chose each other, and that comes with the worst of the worst and the best of the best. And in those seasons of when you're experiencing the worst of the worst, saying something and getting through it together is more important than you getting the dub. So that concludes this week's episode. Hey, let me know what you guys think in the comments, and also be sure to subscribe and give us a thumbs up on this video, and I will see you guys next week. Love you all.